Denny Hamlin wins what could be the race of the year at Michigan for the Cup Series. Plus, with Dodge and Ram joining NASCAR as the fourth OEM, could we be seeing a fifth manufacturer on the horizon already? Welcome back to the Breaking Bob channel. Hope y'all are doing well on this Sunday night, Monday morning, whenever you're watching this post-race recap for Michigan. Whew, everyone. That was incredible. That was just simply fantastic. From the broadcast to the racing to the strategy, all of it. Just absolute cinema. But we've got a lot to get into for the Michigan Cup Series race today. Some are saying race of the year, potentially. We'll get into that. But if you're new here, let's get down to business. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. Always talking NASCAR and racing here on a daily basis at Breaking Bob. Let's just jump right into the winner here. Number 11 against the world. Denny Hamlin, of course, his third win on the 2025 season. But first, since joining that 700 start club in the NASCAR Cup Series. And that's a big hullabaloo. Could he actually pile up a couple of wins in the twilight of his career, especially on baby watch? But I guess there's no better way to induce the labor for your partner than a stressful race like the Michigan race today. And with Hamlin leading the last 4 laps en route to the win at Michigan for his first win since 2011. He went back-to-back at 2010 and 2011 at Michigan. Gotta feel good for Hamlin, I think, getting that monkey off of his back at the 2-mile oval. And for Joe Gibbs Racing, that's their first win at Michigan since 2015 with Matt Kenseth, the now NASCAR Hall of Famer. So was kind of surprised to hear that not JGR hadn't won since 2015. Hendrick Motorsports hadn't won, they broadcasted, since 2014, I believe. Mega teams at a track that you would think brings the cream to the top, and it does, but it's still just a wild streak to see end for JGR and for Denny Hamlin. Congrats to them. A massive win to get into victory lane. Of course, he gave us that I beat your favorite driver. He apologized to his dad before he did it. And then, of course, dropped the OH. He's still on the heels of bandwagoner for Ohio State with his friends the last couple of months in the college football playoff. So Denny Hamlin still trying to cue up the boos even with the cheers there. He always loves to get a rise one way or another out of the crowd. But really, he didn't need to amp up the crowd. They should have already been just going after the last 30, 40 laps of that green flag stint to end the race at Michigan. It took a veteran like Denny Hamlin, I think, to really bring home that car in the lead. As you saw William Byron sputter with, I think, 2 to go, and Carson Hocevar cut a tire in the last few laps. It was just really who could get the most out of their car without hitting that limit, or with the fuel mileage strategy running out of fuel. Denny Hamlin just towed the line just enough there to make it there. Really just shows that he still got it. And for Michigan, it really does show that the veterans, really, it proves that it takes it all to come together to win at this track. And I wish we had more 2-mile ovals around in the country, because the racing it produces. We saw the next gen at Fontana before they closed shop, and Michigan it's incredible racing. And I mentioned the last 30, 40 laps. You had a 5-6 car battle there for the win, kind of fuel strategy, them towing each other, almost like the Indy 500 with the draft, staying in fuel strategy, Kyle Larson in particular. But it came down to Carson Hocevar leading with William Byron, Kyle Larson, Ty Gibbs was kind of falling in line, Denny Hamlin, Chris Buescher came into the pack late there. And it was just guys really pushing the limit on strategy, but also speed. You're still seeing them carry almost 200 miles an hour into turns 1 and turns 3. It's just fantastic racing at this 2-mile oval. But the green flag racing really was the key to all of this strategy. Otherwise, it would have been just everyone on the same race strategy with the fuel. But and Amazon, I think it was a perfect race for Amazon broadcast, because you got Steve Letarte talking about the strategy, the miles per gallon, his burn meter, of course, but even in the pre-race talking about the fuel tax. And it really was, you were able to follow along as a fan, and I think understand the race strategy and how critical every single lap was when they were on throttle, when they were off throttle. It was just fascinating to watch it unfold. But all that because of green flag stints. So yes, it is possible to have an entertaining fuel mileage race. We don't need this to be the normal, of course, but I think, in a world where everyone's saying, oh, we need tracks with 1 date, I'm here out advocating for Michigan to get 2 dates. And look at the crowd out there as well. Just fantastic overall for a whole weekend of racing between the Truck Series and the Cup Series. Bring Xfinity back next year. I'll talk about that here in a little bit, but just overall fantastic weekend. Now, as far as results, let's talk about some of the good. RFK getting all 3 cars in the top 10, with Chris Buescher leading the way in the top 5, but Ryan Preece and Brad Keselowski wrapping up the top 10 at their home track with the Michigan OEM manufacturers at RFK. For Ford, it was big for them to show out, and this is a track that historically they're pretty good at. Chris Buescher winning a couple years ago. Brad still wants to win at his home track. He still hasn't gotten there, but a top 10 result for all three RFK cars, something to build off of that. And same for 2311. We're not talking about Riley Herbst. We don't count him at this point. But the other two 2311 cars with really good speed. Tyler Reddick didn't finish in the top 10. I think he was 13th or 14th, but was up there contending for the lead early in stages 2 and 3. And Bubba Wallace with a top 5 result as well. Really just bringing it home, getting the most out of that car in the 23 team this year. It seems like they've really taken a step forward this year with Bubba Wallace. With Charles Danique on the pit box as well, I think that's been a major breath of fresh air for 2311 and Bubba Wallace. And hey, Trackhouse Racing, they get all 3 cars in the top 20. We'll give them some credit because SVG has really been, it seems like, getting better and better on ovals the last few weeks. And with a top 20 SVG, I think he finished 18th. That's something to build off, especially with some road courses coming up, especially next week at Mexico City. You got Ross Chastain and Daniel Suarez both getting it at home in the top 20. At this point for Trackhouse, that's all you can ask for is just building on results instead of going backwards. Just keeping the bar at least in the top 15, top 20, and then if you can get in the top 10, the top 5, that's gravy at this point. And some solo performers, Zane Smith 7th, Kyle Busch 8th for Zane Smith. It felt like wheeling it all day today. And for FRM, they had some speed, even though Todd Gilliland had a crash at the middle part of stage 3, blowing a tire. He was up there part of stage 3 in the top 5, top 10. And Zane Smith just felt like he was always a consistent threat to be a top 10 car today, getting that result. And Kyle Busch, same thing. After qualifying second, gets that RCR number 8 inside the top 10 for his first top 10 finish since Darlington back in May. Hey, at that point, you just got to build off of this for Kyle Busch. You're in the points, you're in the playoffs right now, and you're point yourself in. Just don't put yourself in a position like Alex Bowman, where a crash today could really, really put yourself out. And we'll talk about the bad here in a second. Alex Bowman certainly is one of those drivers. But before that, we'll talk about Carson Hocevar, who it seems like has been the story of the garage the last week or so, especially after that P2 finish at Nashville last week for his best career result, even though it was a bumpy ride along the way. Hocevar was leading for a lot of stage 3 today, even though it was clear he was not going to be clear on fuel to make it toward the end. This was the career, he led the most laps in a race for his career today at the Cup Series level, beating Texas a few weeks ago. But Hocevar cut a tire down late inside the last 20 laps or so, and only finished, I think it was 28th, 29th, but we're getting there. Carson Hocevar showing the raw speed. This is now 3-4 weeks in a row where he is a contender for the outright race win, and I feel like at that point, you're going to have to take those lumps. You're going to take those battle scores before you can get into victory lane. It's not easy for the most part, unless you're Austin Cindric winning the Daytona 500 in your career debut. But other than that, no. For Carson Hocevar, it's coming. It is sure coming. And for him to be able to at least get that experience of racing out front in the lead, sort of on the fuel save, but still battling William Byron for the lead there, it's going to be there. All right, let's get to the bad. I did mention Alex Bowman. That crash was just nasty in stage 1, and it just is another result that is just going horribly wrong for the 48 team as they're getting closer and closer onto the wrong side of that playoff bubble. And after a great start to the season, we're just wondering, is Alex Bowman's future once again with the 48 team? I hate to do that because I hate to be that guy, but it's a consistent question, especially when you got William Byron and Kyle Larson battling in the top 5, and you've got teammate Chase Elliott, a pit road penalty not once, but twice today. And Chase Elliott had raw speed early on in the race to lead laps in stage 1. Was able to be passed by Chris Buescher for the stage win late, but it was clear Chase Elliott had a good enough car to run top 10 today, but his pit crew doing him no favors, but with not one, but 2 penalties today on pit road for Chase Elliott and the 9 team. Just frustrating. It just seems like Hendrick Motorsports can only get 2 cars at a time right now. Not even the 3rd car can run well. And it's the Hendrick 4th car is the odd man out. But right now, Chase Elliott and Alex Bowman just seem like they cannot get that consistent speed that their teammates can. And that's even being said that Chase Elliott finishing in the top 20 almost every single race. Did he finish in the top 20? Let's double check here. He did 15th for Elliott. So he keeps that top 20 consistent streak alive for the whole season. It's not that it's bad results, but it's just not the speed that is meant to be at the top of the pack that you come to expect from Chase Elliott and from Hendrick Motorsports at a top team. Speaking of top teams, Penske, the flagship for Ford in the Ford backyard at Michigan, non-factor today. Ryan Blaney spinning and basically killing his car early in the race. Austin Cindric with a rough finish today. And Joey Logano, 22nd, was the best Penske car today. It was just frustrating to see Penske at a track where I thought they would be a lot better today, but no. And somehow the worst result of all wasn't a driver. It was a squirrel on pit road as coming through on one of the last pit cycles there. Ty Dillon coming in to his pit box for calling, hit a squirrel. Didn't go well. Haven't seen him come out of the infield care center, but all reports are that the squirrel did not do well after being called into contact with Ty Dillon's machine. But all things considered, I think this was the race of the year, if you ask me. Maybe it's just victim of the moment, especially with the checkered flag just flying a few minutes ago, but whew, I'm here for Michigan. That was great racing. It was great racing at the Truck Series yesterday until the calamity towards the end, and today produced some great racing. The runs the drivers were able to make, they were able to generate speed. They were able to put themselves in great positions and put other drivers in bad positions without forcing them to wreck for the most part. Couple that with fuel mileage strategy toward the ends of the race, green flag racing. This was just a recipe for success. Plus the Amazon broadcast with Steve Letarte especially shining today. Absolute cinema, as the memes would go. This was just an absolute great race, contender for race of the year, and one of the better Michigan races, I would say, even in the last decade or so. But let me know your thoughts down below about Michigan today. The race, what you liked, what you didn't like, if you expected something different, and of course, Denny Hamlin beating your favorite driver, unless you're a Denny Hamlin fan, which if that's the case, congratulations. Before we get out of here, some news broke today that was very least surprising if you're following the NASCAR world at all, that Ram is returning to the Truck Series starting in 2026 as the fourth OEM, and Stellantis Group leaving the option for Dodge to come back to the Cup Series. They said there's no timetable right now. The shortest it could be is 18 months, but it sounds like that they'll be at 27, 28 maybe. No real time frame, but it sounds like Dodge could be coming back to the Cup Series. This is just the start of Stellantis Group coming back into NASCAR. But one notable thing that came out today with this news coming out with Dodge is that not only do you have this rumored fourth OEM finally joining after 13 years since Dodge left. We've been waiting for this fourth OEM. Well, now we've got to talk about the fifth OEM, which apparently could be right on the horizon. Yes, I know. We do this every single, it seems like, summer, but it sounds like the fifth OEM is on the horizon, and it could be Honda. Now, of course, they're on the outs right now with IndyCar. Their contract is due to be up at the end of 2026. There's definitely some ruffled feathers, not only with the hybrid system, but of course the Penske governing system at IndyCar, and Honda has been on the forefront of saying they're not thrilled at how the sport is going. And with that, could they pivot their eyes to stay in North American racing, but come to the biggest staple of North American racing in stock car racing at the NASCAR level? And it's a no-brainer to me. Now, the manager of Honda Motorsports, Chuck Schviski, did go on record kind of denying it, kind of not shooting it down, but not saying it's happening. Quote, "I am not in a position to speculate as to what Mr. Probst was referring to. I can say that Honda continues to explore multiple options for our future endeavors in the U.S. motorsport. We have no news to share at this time." And now that's pretty much exactly what you'd expect to say. They're not going to come out and say, "Oh yeah, we're thinking about joining NASCAR. We're thinking about joining this series." But when there's smoke, there's fire. Now that you've got an actual fourth OEM with Stellantis Group, with Ram, with Dodge, whatever you want to label them as coming to NASCAR, that's enticing for other brands like Honda, like Hyundai. There's other teams out there, other brands out there that I think are kind of eyeing NASCAR on the outs and saying, well, potentially, we're not ready to jump all the way in, but if it works for Dodge, they could be the start of another boom in the motorsports world for NASCAR. While I don't expect Honda to be making an announcement in the next few months even, it's definitely possible that we could be seeing the fifth OEM, potentially Honda, joining NASCAR in the next few years, potentially as early as I would say 2027, 2028, along the same lines as Dodge. It's just waiting for the actual ball to get rolling on that. And it sounds like we could be closer than ever for a fifth OEM. The fact that we're even saying a fifth OEM is wild. But Dodge coming to NASCAR today, Ram, Stellantis Group, whatever you want to brand it as, with the Truck Series in 2026. We got Denny Hamlin winning at Michigan. If you're new here, of course, like this video. Make sure you're subscribed to Breaking Bob for more NASCAR content. If you like what you saw, it does help me out a ton here. And we will see what comes of the NASCAR news this week. I'm sure there'll be something coming that'll be running amok. We don't know what, but there's always something, it seems like, in the garage or one way or another. As the haulers are on their way to Mexico right now, we've got Mexico City on the horizon. Yes, they are letting Kyle Busch in, thankfully. But we'll see what happens this weekend in Mexico City as the first annual NASCAR International race in Mexico City. Stay tuned for more. Appreciate you for watching. See you next time.